So you've weighed up the chaos, the cuteness, the commitment, and the cost, and you still think you're ready for ferrets. This is the point where you might get excited and say, yes, let's go get some noodles. But like Bilbo Baggins getting his hands on the precious ring for the first time, you have a long journey ahead. If you came here from part 1 in the series, this is going to feel like I'm still trying to put you off.
You shall not float!
And that's because I am. If there's any chance of you changing your mind, it's far better that happens now, rather than after you bring ferrets home. Once they're yours, you're responsible for their health, their safety, and their happiness for the next 5 to 10 years. So strap yourselves in, and let's test whether you really are ready for this. For first-time ferret owners, I almost always recommend getting ferrets from a rescue. Rescue ferrets are usually a little older, and that's not a bad thing. Ferrets play like toddlers their entire lives, so you're not going to miss out on any fun. What you are skipping is the gremlins fed after midnight energy of the very bitey infant stage.
What's her name?
Noodles from a specialist ferret rescue are often already bite trained, desexed, and assessed for personality. Experts are on hand to help you find the best fit for your circumstances.
I've got 2 beautiful, beautiful, beautiful boys.
And that makes bonding much easier, especially if you're new. Some rescue centres are general animal charities and not specialists in ferrets. But even then, most ferrets grow out of the worst of the bitey phase by around 6 months old. You do need to consider that some rescue animals have had a tough life until now.
This is for sick ones, so they're having soft meat.
This could mean behavioural issues or potential health problems due to poor diet. That's not me discouraging you. I rescued my boys when they were almost 3 years old. We bonded instantly, and watching them realise they were finally safe, loved, and playing freely in the sunshine in a space built just for them, honestly, that feeling is hard to beat. And even though they were only with me for a few short years, I know they were the best possible years, and they passed feeling happy and safe. I've rescued most of the animals in my life, and there is nothing quite like turning a sad story into a happy one. Reputable breeders do exist in many places, but you'll have to check what's in your region. If you go this route, you should always ask to see kits with their mother, ask detailed questions, and walk away if anything feels off. Avoid any breeder who won't show you how the ferrets live, and make sure the kits have been well socialised through frequent handling. When searching for a breeder, you need to be careful about scam listings online. It's a sad fact that they're everywhere these days. Big cash deposits and refusals to answer basic health or lineage questions are huge red flags. One simple rule: don't hand over any money or personal information until you've seen the kits or their mum and met the breeder where they live. Pet shops are where things get complicated. If you live in the USA, there is one very large, very well-known supplier that dominates the pet shop market. I'm not going to go into detail here for legal reasons, and because I want this video to stay up. What I will say is this: in my opinion, they have a terrible reputation for how and why they breed ferrets. I encourage you to avoid impulse buys and do your own research. Google is your friend.
For millions of small steps can change the world.
If you're getting more than one ferret, and you absolutely should, make sure they are already bonded. It doesn't matter if they're 2 boys, 2 girls, or a mix. If they've chosen each other, separating them is a horrible way to start their new life with you. Semi-feral or feral-born kits from a rescue can make wonderful companions, but they'll take longer to socialise. They'll have learned from their mum that humans aren't safe, so you might need to start handling with thick gloves and work at their pace. That's not wrong, but it is extra work, for the added reward of seeing their transformation into little cuddlebugs. Older ferrets, on the other hand, often come desexed, calmer, and much easier to handle. Males tend to be bigger, often lazier, and sometimes smellier. Females are usually smaller, faster, and more energetic. Both can be cuddly, both can be chaos. Personality matters far more than gender. What does matter is reproductive health. If you're getting young kids, this part is crucial. Female ferrets come into season at around 6 months old, and they will stay in season until they mate. This will eventually lead to life-threatening hormone levels, so you must have a plan in place. That plan could involve chemical intervention from a vet, a hormone implant, or controlled mating through a breeder with a vasectomized hob. After the first season, your options include surgical spaying to remove the reproductive organs, or leaving the female intact and using hormone implants on a yearly basis instead. Speak to an experienced vet if you need further advice before making that decision. There is a growing concern that desexing ferrets before their first season may be linked to adrenal disease later in life, which is why this timing matters.
What's this?
For males, it's a little easier since they don't remain in season like a female, so you can have them castrated once they're reproductively mature. Like with females, you can choose implants instead if you don't want them to have surgery. You could also choose to leave your hob intact, but that will come with more aggression and smell issues when it's rutting season. If you have a pair that are male and female, you will need a plan to keep them apart through that crucial first season period. Again, the great thing about slightly older rescue ferrets is that they're usually already desexed, which removes this entire stress from your life. Ferrets are exotic pets. Not every vet treats them, and not every vet who says they do is truly experienced enough to handle complications. That's fine for things like ear mite treatments and vaccinations, but before you adopt, you need to know where your nearest specialist vet is, and whether your local vet will be happy referring you if needed. Trust me on this, because not all vets are. And you might need to travel quite a distance for the right treatment, so you need to factor that into running costs. And those costs can add up. As exotics, vet treatment will be more expensive than regular pets like cats, dogs and rabbits. So let's talk about funding that healthcare. Because unless you have a bank balance that can take a big hit without flinching, you need to be saving up each month so you can be ready when the age-related problems kick in. Some people might decide on pet insurance, but I have a hot take on that. In my personal experience, if I had put the money I paid into pet insurance for my cats aside each month, I would be in a far better position today. All affordable insurance plans have a copay, and if you make a claim, you'll find your premium rockets up in the following years. That's what I experienced when my cat, Cappy, got a fractured shoulder at age 10. There's a reason the insurance industry has such a bad rep. But if you're going to skip it, you must have the willpower to save responsibly instead. At the end of the day, whether you choose pet insurance or a savings pot, if you can't afford to put money aside every month for vet care,
Good girls here.
you can't afford ferrets. That sounds harsh, but it's a reality I would rather you face now than in the midst of a medical crisis you can't afford. Ferrets are obligate carnivores.
All right, don't fight.
No plants, no grains, no fruit, no vegetables. They are also imprinted eaters. This means that in nature they learn what's safe to eat from their mother. So after about 6 months old, changing their diet can be extremely difficult. Exposing them to a wide range of proteins before then will make your life much easier. Raw feeding is the gold standard, but it comes with responsibility. It must be a balanced meat diet, including raw bones, organs, and occasional fun-to-eat extras like eggs. Cooked bones are never safe. And don't give your noodles dairy, they're lactose intolerant. One of the easiest ways to do raw is with a grind prepared specifically for carnivore pets. But you need a brand that uses high-quality meat prepared in a hygienic environment, which can make it quite expensive. Cheaper grind brands often use low-grade products prepared in non-hygienic factories, which can be fine for big dogs as they usually have a much hardier constitution, but a ferret can get really sick from bad meat, so choose your food well. Kibble can be an option. It's much cleaner and easier to store and prepare, but quality matters. Many ferret foods on the market are genuinely poor, full of harmful fillers, and marketed very convincingly. Brand recognition does not equal good nutrition. I have a full treats and food guide linked here if you want to go deep on this, and I recommend you do.
It's stuck.
Depending on the climate where you are, ferrets can live indoors or outdoors. Temperature is critical because when it's hotter than 26 degrees centigrade, that's 80 degrees Fahrenheit in old money, your pocket rockets will need help to stay cool. And anything over 28 to 32 degrees centigrade, that's 80 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, is a danger zone where heat stroke can develop in as little as 10 minutes. On the flip side, too cold can freeze their drinking water and be life-threatening if they don't have an insulated space to snuggle up and stay warm when they're asleep. Outdoor enclosures must use proper galvanized steel mesh. Chicken wire is not strong enough. And always follow the 2-finger rule for gaps they could squeeze through. When planning the run, remember ferrets dig very effectively, so make sure you mount any cage on something they can't dig their way through. They also climb surprisingly well.
What are you doing up there?
So the cage will need to be enclosed top and bottom. For indoor ferrets, free roam is wonderful, but you still need a secure cage for overnight and crowd control when you have something going on. Because ferrets are so darn curious, you just know they will have their noses into everything. Ferret proofing isn't about perfection, it's about reducing risk. And ferrets are the ultimate pen testers. Expect to be constantly plugging up the security flaws they so kindly point out. Now, before we finish, I want to go through one last sanity check before running away with the excitement of bringing cat snakes into your home. Can you afford ongoing vet care? Do you have access to a specialist vet? Are you prepared for illness later in life? Can you feed them correctly for years, not weeks? Is your timing right? Or are you about to move house, travel, or sit exams? Ferrets are not impulse pets. It's not fair on you or them to go into this unprepared. If this video felt like I was trying to put you off, that was intentional. But if you're still here, still nodding along, still thinking, yes, I can do this.
Oh, well, you best come through then.
You can turn that off now.
Sorry about the mix-up.
Your life is about to change in ways that give me goosebumps as I write this. You're about to join a very special club, so welcome home. This series continues here, where we get you ready for day one, picking them up, bringing them home, first introductions, and surviving those first 24 hours of chaos. If you're still deciding, I've put everything together in this playlist. I'll see you there, Floof Crew.